The Jesuit priest poet Gerard Manley Hopkins has a line that he uses to introduce one of his poems. And that line is, "The world is charged with the grandeur of God." You know, just like an electric wire is full of energy and power and potential and life, so this created world, all creation, is charged with the grandeur of God, the presence of God. Now, Francis lived a long time before Gerard Manley Hopkins, but I think he would appreciate that insight. And I think he certainly would agree, because he sensed the presence of God in all creation. He sensed the beauty of God in all of creation. In beautiful things, he saw beauty. In fact, that was the phrase that one of his earliest biographers used to talk about what was happening in Francis. In beautiful things, he saw beauty itself. Beauty was a synonym for God. Bonaventure also has another, I think, a lovely little line. He said, "Creation is the footprints of God." So when you look around, you can see traces of God's presence. Francis is famous for having written a poem that is called The Canticle of the Creatures. And it begins, "Praise be you, my Lord, for brother son. Of you, most high, he bears the likeness." What he does in this poem is he just kind of bursts forth in praise of God that he senses in all of creation. I think the image is that when he experienced the beauty and the warmth of the sun, he experienced the beauty and the warmth of God's love. And it led him to appreciate who God is and what God was doing. You know, there's another little, Francis must have been walking along the road one day after a rain, and you know how the little worms come out. He would pick the worm up and put it on the side of the road, because the worm, too, reminded him of God. That came from a passage of Isaiah the prophet that we read on Good Friday, where it's talking about the suffering of Jesus, and he says, "I am a worm and no man." But the insight is that from the majestic beauty of the sun to the very tiniest creature, all of them reminded him of the presence of God and the goodness of God. He saw that all creation was good and beautiful. Not only did he sense the presence of God, but he also had a sense that he was part of this beautiful creation. Everything was connected. Everything and everyone was brother and sister. Brother sun, sister moon, sister water, mother earth. We're all bound together as family, all created good, all created beautiful, all created by God to be reverenced, honored, and cherished. And not even some of the challenging things, too. One time he was walking through the woods and he was robbed. And in telling the story, he talked about brother robber. He was being pestered by a fly one day. And in telling the other friars, he talked about brother fly. Even death, he called his sister. He says, "Welcome, Sister Death." Because even that he saw as part of the process, and death for him was the door that would allow him to enter to see God face to face. I don't know about you, but I find that going out into the nature and taking a walk in the woods especially, or by a lake, or by the ocean, or by the sea, or watching a sunset, or even going out into the evening and looking at the stars, that kind of experience can have a very calming effect upon me. I sense my connectedness with my brothers and sisters, all created by God. You know, each season brings its own beauty. In spring, things are bursting forth. The summer, we see the beautiful flowers and butterflies, and we hear the birds and the insects. The fall, we have the wonderful, delightful color. In the winter, there's that silence and stillness. But somehow or other, in all of the various experiences, you can feel a sense of kinship. You can feel a sense of your own moods and rhythms. And all of us, we're part of one another. We're created by God. God is present to us. We're brother and sister to one another. I have a friend who likes to use the word when he feels kind of frantic or kind of disconnected. He says, I'm discombobulated. I don't even know if that's a real word or not, but I kind of like it. It's a delightful word. But when I feel discombobulated, I do try to kind of go outside and to kind of reconnect. It kind of puts us back together again. It centers and it grounds us. And I think that that's the gift of creation, and that's part of the intuition of Francis, is that we are all created by God, beautiful and good, and we are all brother and sister to one another. And we sense our place in the beauty of creation, and we are privileged to reverence and care for creation as we care for all God's creatures. So gracious God, I thank you that I am fearfully, wonderfully made. I thank you that I am part of your creation, beautiful and good. I am part of all that you have made, a creature loved by you, created by you. I pray, Lord, that you will help me reconnect and recharge me, and that I too, like Hopkins and Francis, might experience the goodness and the grandeur of God. Amen.